What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing the Smashing Pumpkins' Machina, the Machines of God, their technical last album before they broke up in the year 2000. So we're going to be continuing what we've been doing in the past. I've reviewed all the Smashing Pumpkins albums, dating back from Gish all the way here. So we're going to be talking about Machina 1 in this video, doing what I always do, talking about kind of the history, my overall thoughts about it, the strengths, the weaknesses, and then we're going to go into every single song and kind of analyze them a little bit. Next time in 2 weeks we're going to be doing Machina 2, so I am going to be reviewing Machina 2. A lot of songs there, a lot of demos, a lot of side tracks, so we're going to be talking about every one of those songs and talking about kind of the history of Machina 2 a little bit. And then we're going to keep going from there. We're going to be doing Zwan, we're going to be doing Zeitgeist, Oceania, Monuments, and then talking about basically their tour and other topics I want to talk about Smashing Pumpkins related. I enjoy making these a ton. I really love doing this, so I definitely want to keep talking about the Smashing Pumpkins, and those who watch, I think, really like the content. So here we go. Machina 1, The Machines of God, released on February 29th, 2000. February 29th, obviously the leap year of that year. Very interesting history with this album, just like any other album. I mean, there's always a ton of controversy and history that goes into every single Smashing Pumpkins album, and this is literally no different. This could possibly be the biggest one ever, although we could say that for just about every single album. The Siamese Dream album obviously had so much going on about it. The Melancholy album really was probably the most solidified that group has ever been. And then we had Adore, which obviously so much happened during the Adore years, and a lot happened between just the 2 years between Adore and Machina 1. This was the time when they got back together. They invited Jimmy Chamberlin back into the band, and they decided that one album, they were going to make one last album, and then disband, break up after that last album, kind of go out with a really big bang. And Billy Corgan has always talked about that, especially recently, that they really wanted to go out as big as they possibly could. And we'll talk about kind of what the album means and the concept album that they ended up creating in Machina. But you know, they went on the Arising tour in 1999 with all four of them. They played in 9 very small settings where they were all together one last time until Darcy left the band. And then there we were. There was just the 3 of them. Billy Corgan and James Ehad both did the bass parts of Machina. Basically, whatever they had written going into when Darcy left was completely scrapped, and that really caused a lot of problems with the band. A lot of the songs had to get reworked. A lot of the concepts and how the songs sounded had to get reworked. All of Darcy's parts got completely taken out. There's very little, if none, of Darcy's bass parts in the actual album, Machina, the Machines of God, which sucks. That's just how it is. I talked about that in the when I was talking about Darcy in that video that did actually really good. So that was kind of the history of it. Really messy. They knew this was going to be the last album. They wanted to go out big, but then they lost a band member, a member that had been with them since day one. She stayed during those Jimmy Chamberlin years, and then when they all got back together, she left. And we know what has happened to her since she left. Really sad, really tragic about what's happened to her life since she's left. But Machina became a concept album, and Machina kind of always was going to be a concept album. It was originally, again, supposed to be a double album. Billy Corgan wanted to write and had written tons and tons of songs for this album and was telling a really huge story and wanted to do a double album. Now with Adore, he wrote enough songs for a double album. They didn't really want to do it. For Machina, they definitely didn't want to do it because of the disappointing sales of Adore, and Machina ended up going on to sell very little in terms of actual sales. Did really well week 1 and then kind of just completely trailed off. It just wasn't music that people wanted to hear, and that is pretty apparent when you listen to it. It sounds so different. And here's the thing, I continue to love that. I always love that each album sounds so different, and it always conveys a different meaning, and there's just a different kind of flair to it. I love that. You're never listening to the same Smashing Pumpkins album. Another band I absolutely adore is Green Day. And Green Day, from really their first album up until really Warning, while yes, there were some songs that sounded different, many of those songs in many of those albums really just sounded like the same songs over and over. They had the same kind of feel over and over to them. When you listen to the Smashing Pumpkins, I think one thing you have to give them is the uniqueness. They always sound so unique. But Machina, the Machines of God, is a concept album talking about Billy Corgan's character. Now, it's all personas of Billy Corgan and the band. His character Zero, who he had mentioned in the Melancholy, he has the Zero shirt. Zero had a vision or like a spiritual hearing from God, and ended up having to change his name. He changed his name to Glass. they end up forming a band, the Machines of God, and the people, the fans that listen to them, are called the Ghost Children. It's the song name Glass and the Ghost Children, talking about, you know, the lead singer of the band, and as well as the Ghost Children is in the fans, and in terms of the band, the Machines of God is that band. So it's a very wacky kind of spiritual concept album, and I really like that. I'm not going to really go into talking about it. There's a video on YouTube, I think it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours, where a guy, some person, took a lot of time to really kind of analyze the story of this album. I just think it's really, really fascinating. I haven't even listened to the full thing. I just find the actual concept of just that basic amount that I said, I find that really, really cool. I don't listen to many concept albums, but this is really telling a very unique story. Again, really going off these cartoonish personas that the band had, and that's what Billy Corgan wanted to do. At this point, media was writing whatever they wanted about the band members and about him, and they had such this skewed view from the public eye that Billy Corgan wanted to embrace that. I mean, when they went on tour, they wore all sorts of really, really crazy outfits. They looked super strange, and that's basically what they were doing, is they were playing like their alter egos, which was really, really cool, and kind of a weird way of saying goodbye to everybody too. But when it comes to the songs of the album, a lot of songs, yes, do have to do with the concept, with the Machines of God, with the band itself, with the Ghost Children, with Glass, mentioned multiple times throughout it. Both albums, by the way, Machina 1 and Machina 2. When it comes to the album itself, though, a lot of the songs are talking about the ending of a relationship, a lot of ending of either a personal relationship or the band's relationship. And I do think that's what makes some of these songs stand out. When it comes to the songs themselves, this album just definitely doesn't hold up. It's got some phenomenal songs. It's got some of my favorite songs that they've ever made on this album, and Machina 2 is phenomenal. What I think the mistake was is I don't know how the mixing worked. I don't know which one, I don't know how they picked the 15 songs to go on this album, but they picked some wrong ones. There are some songs on Machina 2, a lot of songs on Machina 2, that are really, really amazing and have the old Smashing Pumpkins feel, but also kind of show this growth. And I'm not going to go into it too much because we can talk about it in that video in 2 weeks. For this album, for Machina 1, it's got the same thing. There's some songs here that shows what they used to be and the progress and the evolution of the Smashing Pumpkins, but a lot of the songs, not a lot, some of the songs just aren't special. There's not a song on this album I hate, I will say that. There's not a quote-unquote bad song. You know, when it comes to Melancholy, there was one bad song on the second side of the album. In Zeitgeist, there's like 1 or 2 songs that aren't that good. But overall, most albums by the Smashing Pumpkins, I don't dislike any song. And this album is no different. I don't hate any song on this album. It's just when you listen through it, it just doesn't have the feel. Some of the songs doesn't really feel like he's putting much of an effort into it. And that could have been definitely planned. That could have, that could have been serving the story, whatever. But I just don't get the energy from Billy Corgan as it did. But it does go back to a lot of the old Smashing Pumpkins. Now, the thing is that what we wanted? You know, Adore was just so different, and yes, it alienated people, and people were like, what is this? But at the same time, it was something so different, had such a powerful energy to it, whereas Machina 1 had some energy, and I think divided the fan base again, because now we're like, oh, okay, the old Smashing Pumpkins. Well, did they do the old Smashing Pumpkins right? You know, like, what is this music? And to their credit, it does sound like them a little while ago. His voice is definitely the most nasally I think it's ever been in this album, and I actually really like that. I like his nasally voice. So in this album and Machina 2, I actually really, really like that. They go back to where the guitar parts definitely overpower, and the drums, the beating drums, and really all the distortions and effects he has on the guitar, they definitely overpower the singing, which is old Smashing Pumpkins. And that was the problem with Zeitgeist, is they flipped it and it just didn't work. In terms of the actual meanings and the words, you can't necessarily understand or hear everything Billy Corgan's talking about, but then they also incorporated some just different kind of techno-electro music that kind of sounds a little bit like Adore in 2000. Also sounds like Adore, but if you made it a little bit more happier. Adore was a very depressing album, and Billy Corgan talked about with Machina 1 how he wanted it to be split. The first 7 songs are very more pop-driven, and I definitely agree. The first 7 songs on this album are definitely more guitarish, they're definitely more straightforward, they're a little bit more catchy, they got more riffs and things like that. Whereas the second half of the album is definitely more artsy, definitely tells more of a story, definitely has, I think, stronger meanings for the most part. and overall I think are just the more creative ones, and I always appreciate his creativity. So overall, the album isn't bad. It's not my favorite album. It's not my least favorite, I wouldn't say. I would just say that they made a mistake. They could have made one amazing album if they eliminated 3, 4, 5 songs from this album and put in some of the better songs, and they swapped a version of one of these songs, and they put in some of the Machina 2 songs. They would have been perfect. And they didn't. They just didn't. And again, I think they made that mistake with Adore. They could have put Let Me Give the World to You into Adore, and they didn't do that. That was a mistake. I think that was a mistake. That's one of the best songs I've ever written and ever made. And it didn't make it on that album, and Adore is a phenomenal album. I just think it could have made it even better. So Machina has some problems. It's not the strongest album, it's not the weakest album, but here we go. We're going to go into each and every song and kind of just generally discuss what I think about the song. We're not going to go too much into each song, but I do want to give my general impressions of them all. Starting with number 1, The Everlasting Gaze. Now this is an awesome song. This is what I'm talking about. This song is one of my favorite songs by them. Super distorted guitar. I love it. That riff in the beginning, really, really good. The drum, the music video for it is phenomenal. Really, really cool. And overall, it's just a really catchy song. It's got his very, very nasally voice, but it's also got a very, very powerful guitar to back it. And it's really talking about the in-between time between Adore and 2000, really talking about where they've been. And he's even said that. And for all the people that have kind of been waiting, like, this is where we've been, this is what we've been doing, like, we're back, right? And he ends up talking about, you know, the God machine. So he kind of talks about the creation of this new band, the Machines of God. So I really like the song. It kind of introduces the premise of this concept album. It's very, very rockish. It's really, really nice. It's not the longest song in the world, but it's definitely got some very distorted guitars. I would love to play it. You have to tune your guitar down quite a bit in order to play this song. A little too much for what my guitars I think can handle at their current state, but one day I will end up learning to play this. But this is one of my favorite songs by them in general, and I really, really like that this is one of their best starting points of an album. But Raindrops and Sun Showers is next, and this one starts to fall apart almost immediately. It's not bad. It's got more of a bass line to it, but it's just super, super repetitive. I feel like it goes on a minute and a half too long. Not bad. I don't not like it, but I love to just listen to albums and listen to songs on repeat. I can listen to Everlasting Gaze on repeat over and over. I can listen to Machina over and over. I can listen to Machina 2 over and over. But when it comes to this, I can't continue to listen to this. If I repeat the album, I can maybe go twice in a row listening to it, but the third time I'm going to skip this song because it's just nothing. It's not special. It's kind of just there. It does have this kind of catchy thing. They're trying to do some sort of roll with the drums. Like, it's trying to grab you, but it's not very rock-centric. This one is definitely more like Smashing Pumpkins pop, but they've never really been about pop, except if you consider like Perfect or 1979 to be pop, which I don't necessarily. That's more alternative. But I think that's what this song's trying to be, and it just overall doesn't work. Whereas the third song, Stand Inside Your Love, this song works. Now this is the song, when people heard it, they immediately referenced back to Siamese Dream. This sounds like a Siamese Dream song. And to be honest, when I heard that, when I knew people had said that when I was getting into Smashing Pumpkins like 4 or 5 years ago. I had read comments and heard people talk about how they felt that song reminded them of Siamese Dream. To be honest, I really don't think it sounds like Siamese Dream them at all. I really love his voice. I really, really love the guitar parts. And the song overall is really, really beautiful. It's a great, great song. I like the mix. It's a very fine balance, again, of his voice mixing in with the guitar and the drums, which is really not even an actual drum set. It's really just more like a bass drum, which I really, really love. And overall, the song works really well. I guess it kind of reminds me of Siamese Dream. It does remind you of more younger Smashing Pumpkins, but I just don't get like the cherub rock and things like that. Like today, you don't really hear that, but I can understand why people would think or can think like, oh, this song reminds me of them back in the Siamese Dream days. But This is a really, really good song, and I will say 2 of the first 3 songs of this album, 2 of 3 of them are super, super good. Some of the better songs they had ever made. And they really follow it up well with Eye of the Morning, which I personally, holy God, I love this song. I really, really love this song. I like how it's, especially early on, is really just about Billy Corgan singing. Talking, again, really about coming back when he's talking about blowing the dust off my guitar in the attic with those stars. Like, this is really a song, again, about in between 1998 and 2000, saying we're back. He talks about reading people's letters to make him feel better. So, you know, this is a cool song, and I think it's got a stronger meaning, and you can actually understand what he's saying. You can actually hear him, because his voice, I think, does in this song overpower the other instruments, and I actually really, really like that about this song overall. But especially towards the end, has a really, really nice backing guitar part when he's singing. It's got a really nice kind of solo riff going on that really makes it sound very, very rockish and very, very awesome. And they do that again in terms of Speed Kills on Machina 2. They do the kind of same thing when he's singing. They have guitar parts going over him. It sounds a lot like Soma even from Siamese Dream. This reminds me of that, when he's singing, but it's doing just a shredding guitar solo-ish kind of pattern behind him. And that's what happens in Soma, that's what happens here, that's what happens in Speed Kills, and I love these kind of songs. And Eye of the Morning does it really good. This is one of my most underrated songs by them. They played it back in 2000. I always sometimes go back and just watch them play this song because it's super, super good. Then we have the Sacred and the Profane, and this is where it starts to get a little messy. This song, again, is really nothing. It's got another kind of like Eye of the Morning thing where he's singing and there's some cooler-ish guitar things. It's not just strumming chords. It's not just distorted notes or whatever. It's got a nice little feel to it in the background. But overall, this is nothing. You can't necessarily even understand what he's singing in the song. I think all of the noises in the song overpower one another, where again, you really don't understand what he's saying. It just sounds like one big thing that's happening. And when you can't understand anything he's saying, and when the guitar parts and the drum parts don't actually do anything to like enhance the experience, the song tends to suffer. And this song definitely tends to suffer. Whereas number 6, Try, 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 okay, here's the thing. This song is really, really good. This is the more pop version of the song. It's a more pop and depressing version. And this is the song I'm talking about, by the way. I do not understand why they picked this version. Whereas the version on Machina 2 is just, my God, it's better. Now, I understand, here's the thing. Some of the Machina 2 songs were recorded afterwards, okay? A lot of the Machina 2 songs were recorded after the Machina 1 days. But some songs weren't. Okay, this is the alternate take to Try, Try, Try we're talking about for Machina 2. So I was saying how they could put some of the songs in. I'm talking about some songs that they just kept out. Not really songs they hadn't even thought of yet, just to make that clear. But Try, 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 I really like this song. Powerful-ish message. The music video got torn apart just because of really the graphicness of what they showed. Heavy, heavy drug use. Not stuff that you necessarily need to watch. Pretty M-rated or R-rated or whatever version if you're thinking of a game or a movie or whatever. Pretty not, you know, safe for like younger people, and luckily the viewership of the Smashing Pumpkins is not like young children, because this is a risky music video, and I actually appreciate it for that. But the song itself is really good. I definitely like its meaning. I love the second version, and we'll talk about that on the next video. Words can't even describe how much I love the second version. But this version is good. It's just got that pop kind of feel that I think holds it back. Another thing that I think hurts this version is he doesn't sound like he's trying enough. This is another time when I think that, where like you hear him and it's just like I don't sense the energy. Like I just don't. In Try, 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 the alternate take, you can feel it. You can really feel it. Now maybe it's just because they strip away a lot of the background noises, the electro noises, and it's just the guitar and a little bit of synthesizer kind of stuff and drums too, but also just his voice. So his voice is very much present in the second version, whereas it's everything in this version. And maybe that overall leads to just a less energy kind of feel, but that's just the sense I get with the song. I love the song. I really love the song, and I love the second take of the song. But his voice, it doesn't sound like he's funny enough. It doesn't seem like he's trying enough. Now maybe that's the point, because of literally the song and the meaning of the song. So that's something I've never actually thought of. I would like to maybe know if that is the reason, but he just seems to have a lack of actual effort in this song. Heavy Metal Machines is next, and this song, again, really rocks. I mean, the The guitar, again, super distorted, very much sounding like Everlasting Gaze, the Everlasting Gaze. And this is a song I've always wanted him to play live. And I think recently, the last time they went on tour, they did play this. And he had also played Everlasting Gaze before. He played it with Marilyn Manson when they went on that tour, and I loved hearing that because I really wanted to hear that song live, and it doesn't disappoint. Heavy Metal Machine, same kind of thing. Super heavy. Again, talking about him. He's talking about if he survives. He's talking about if he's alive, what happens. He's talking about if he's dead, will my record sell? Would you even care? All those kind of things. And that was criticized back in the day too. That like he's kind of poking at the whole. Well, if I died, I wonder if things would sell more. Would more records sell if I were dead? And then he even talks about let me die for rock and roll. Let me die to save my soul. So that's another thing, talking about him, talking about the band, like letting them go, saying goodbye. Like, we are this powerful heavy metal group, even though they're not actually heavy metal. But this is a persona they're putting on, remember. And they're saying goodbye, like, you have to let us go. It's the end of the line here. And that's what the whole song kind of means, and I love that. I think this song really has a lot of powerful meaning, and it's also super catchy, super fun to listen to. I love his voice. This is definitely a very strong song, and it picks up really well with This Time, which is the next song on the album, and this is where it starts to cross over into the more artsy. It doesn't sound very rockish. This is where the guitar parts really start to get stripped back in place of the more, again, synthesizer, electro kind of stuff. But this is a song, again, really talking about saying goodbye. He's talking about, it's like, you guys have to let me know if this is the last time we're doing this. Like, you have to let me know where we stand with this band, because we have to say goodbye. I can't keep doing this forever, so I want to be able to do what I can do as long as I can. He talks about that, how he can't do it forever. He needs to sing his song while he still can. And that's basically what he's talking about at the very end, talking about one day we'll wave hello and wish we'd never waved goodbye. Again, are you sure you want to do this? Is the band sure we want to do this? Because once we go, yes, we can come back, but like, will it ever be the same? And like, think of all the things we've missed and the opportunities we're giving up. And that's what the song means. Billy Corgan said it was his love letter to the band. It's talking about the band. And it's at the very end how he talks, bidding everybody a good night. So again, another closing kind of thing. This song is super powerful. Really love it. Where is the next song, The Imploding Voice? More heavy, more guitar, but also just some weird noises going on. This is where he just lets his voice go just a tad too far. Where I like his nasally voice, but when he says everywhere you are at the end, and he really stretches that nasally voice, there's just no necessary need for it. And this is another song, like The Sacred and the Profane, where you don't need it to be as long as it is, and also Raindrops and Sun Showers. Three of these songs, those three songs, are like a minute and a half too long, where they repeat just a little bit too much, and this is one of them. This song doesn't even repeat that much, but it just feels like it drags on just a tad too much. And I think if you cut off like a minute, just a solid 60 seconds off of all three of these songs, you will overall have just a better experience with the songs. The next song is Glass and the Ghost Trilogy. Now this is a super long song where it's pushing 9 minutes, it's over 9 minutes in length, and this is my favorite, I will say this, it's my favorite long song they've ever made, including Silver Blank, the swear word, in Siamese Dream, including Porcelina and the Vast Oceans and Melancholy. I'm talking about doing Martha and Adore, Starla and Pisces Iscariot, all of those. This is my favorite long song they've ever made. I don't even know why. I really don't even know why, because it's so weird. I mean, he even has like a talking version where he literally is just talking for like a solid 2 minutes in the middle of it. And the song kind of has like that interlude and then it comes back. But I just love his voice in this. And it's not very guitar heavy at all. It's just a lot of noises. But overall, I don't really know why I like this song so much, but I really love this song quite a bit. And Wound is the next song, and this song is another song I really love. I think super underrated. Wound and Eye of the Morning are the two most underrated songs I think on this album, maybe in terms of the Smashing Pumpkins in general. Because Wound is really good. It's got the more popish, again, kind of electro, not really rock style. I can see why it's a little bit more artsy. This song is another song where he really, again, stretches his voice, maybe a bit too far, but unlike in Imploding Voice, I really like it when he does it in this song. I just think his voice works. I think just the words he's saying and the tone he's kind of keeping up, his pitch, I think really, really works with this song. And overall, I think this is a fantastic song. Again, watched him play this song live. He's never really played it live since 2000, but I always like to go back and listen to it. The Crying Tree of Mercury is next, and this song is pretty good when you listen to it on the album. Now, what I want to say about this song, because there's honestly not that much I do want to say about it, but this song is super good live. He has recently really had a love for this song where he's played it every single time on his past like 2-3 tours. I don't really know what is it about this song on this album, but it's very, very powerful. He doesn't even play the guitar when he does it live anymore. He lets Jeff Schroeder play it on guitar and he just sings. And very powerful. I think it's really good on the album, but again, I think it's even better when you're actually listening to it live. And then With Every Light is the next song. Now, With Every Light is maybe my favorite song on this album, one of my favorite songs of all time by the Smashing Pumpkins. Super artsy, relies on the guitar a little bit, but has some nice little sounds to it. Again, love his voice. Talking, now this is another song about his mother, talking about, look ma, the sun is shining on me. So this is a song telling his mother that he's okay. Like everything that's happened to him, it's okay. And that he's still here. And I love that. I love that message. I like that he's literally talking to his mother. The song is directed to, right to her. And it's just a really beautiful song. The guitar is really, really soft and beautiful. I think his voice, he keeps at a really, really nice tone. Just overall, I really, really like this song. Blue Skies Bring Tears is the next one. Here's the thing. When I had listened to this version, the other version I really don't like, the one on Machina 2. It's too slow. It's really, really weird, like he's trying to scare people with the Machina 2 version. This one is really good. It sounds super different. It's got just a completely different, I think, tone to it and sound to it that doesn't actually fit, personally, I think, with the rest of the album. It's got a couple of the background sounds to it that maybe would remind you of some of the other sounds that you hear on these other songs, and his voice obviously matches the voice of the other songs. But overall, I just don't feel like this song belongs here. But that's not saying it's a bad thing. I actually really, really like the song. It took me a long time to get to like this song, though. This song was a song that I would never really listen to, just because I think it starts so odd and you don't really get to hear him sing that much for the first little while of the song. I think that scared me off the first couple times I listened to it. But now, I love listening to it. I think it's a really good kind of closing song. The album wraps up super weird. From like Glass and the Ghost Children onward, this album is just super strange. And I think that alienates people because it's just so out there. It's like, I don't know if this is even the Smashing Pumpkins. Like, it's his voice, and there's guitar parts, but like, is this today? Is this 1979? Is this Below Butterfly Wings? Like, no, it's not actually. It's very, very different. But, that's just how it is. And Age of Innocence is the final song of this album. I love this song too. Really easy, catchy drum beat, and I really like the guitar as well, and I just love his voice. I don't have much to say about that song. That song is, I think, a perfect closing song, really, really enjoyable. Kind of rockish. I don't really see it as a more artsy song. I definitely do see it going back to the rock roots of the Smashing Pumpkins. I think a really good way to end the album. I think a really good goodbye and a really good like closing statement of what they sound like. Kind of to close it back in. I feel like the album goes through a lot of artsy directions just to come back at the very, very end with this song. So there you have it. There's my review for Machina 1, The Machines of God by the Smashing Pumpkins. Overall, definitely like it. It's got some problems. It's got some weak spots. It's a messy album. It's a messy album. It's a messy situation. When is it not with the Smashing Pumpkins? So let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this album. We're going to be doing Machina 2 next in 2 weeks, actually. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'm very excited for that. Machina 2 is one of my favorite albums by them. Routinely tied for #1, and most of the time when I listen to it just straight through, it becomes my favorite album by them. I absolutely love Machina 2. And Machina 1 is just an album of like, what could it have been? It could have been better. A lot of things changed in it because Darcy left. So it's an album that definitely went through its ups and downs, still has some amazing songs like The Everlasting Gaze, like Stand Inside Your Love, and like my personal favorites, Eye of the Morning, Glass and the Ghost Children, Wound, all these kind of songs. Blue Skies Bring Tears, With Every Light. There's a lot. There's 8 or 9 really fantastic songs on this album, and then there's like 4, 5, 6 that don't necessarily, Heavy Metal Machine, but you know, there's around 5 that just don't need to be on there, and if you replace them with better songs than Machina 2, Cash Car Star, or Real Love, or anything, or If There Is a God, all these songs, if you replace any of them, I think you get overall a better experience. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think of that. Make sure you stay tuned for Machina 2's review in 2 weeks, and I'll see you guys there.